Hi, it's Caroline here, and I am going to talk to you today about my discoveries after 1 year of hiking. So I'm going to tell you why I decided to go hiking a year ago, what I learned in my experiences before, during, and after the hike, and whether I'm going to continue to be hiking in the future. I was looking for a way to explore the world, discover new places, but in a way that isn't looking at the tourist trails and having it inundated with people, because I wanted to also create some space for some inward reflection. So when my friend Steve approached me this time last year asking me, do you want to come on a whole bunch of different multi-night hikes? I went, I think this is a really good way to do it. And I learned so much growth has happened this year. I was feeling a bit clueless. I had never done a self-sustaining hike myself before. I had only been on day hikes, and I had also done the Machu Picchu in Peru, but you have a guide, they carry your tent, your food, they make your dinner and foods, and you basically just walk with a little backpack on, so it was kind of cheating. I also felt overwhelmed because there's just so much to consider when you're carrying your own things. You've got to figure out the weight to minimize the weight. You've got to find out exactly what you want to carry. And there's just so much information out there, and so many experienced people have so many different perspectives. And I'm me, so I'm going to have different needs to everyone else. So it was like pretty overwhelming. And also I had a bit of like fear. So thinking, am I strong enough? Am I, good enough? Am I prepared enough? Am I resilient enough? Because I'm so sensitive, I feel the cold a lot. I was worried I was gonna get cold and I get hungry, and then if I don't eat, I get hangry. So all of that, I was thinking, is it worth doing this? And luckily for me, I just kind of kept pushing through and spent about 2 months doing some solid planning, got all my gear together, got everything planned. And then before I knew it, I was on the trail for the first time in April in the Overland Track in Tasmania.
Is that it? Woohoo! I probably shouldn't do that too much.
The experience I got there immediately was this sense of simplicity. There was no phone reception, there was no internet, so I was completely disconnected from the rest of the world, which meant that I was fully immersed and connected with my current world, which happened to be in nature. And it was so peaceful, and I was really aware of all the senses, seeing the beautiful landscape, smelling the rain, feeling the dirt beneath my feet as I walked, and like hearing the birds singing, hearing my own feet crunching. So it was really beautiful. And I also felt like very anonymous, because everyone I knew was not in my vicinity anymore, and I was in the middle of this big vast expanse of nature.
I feel so small.
A sense of simplicity was a really important theme in this journey of discovery. I was only carrying a backpack, so essentially I'm a snail with all my food and all my things that I need on my back. And so it forced me to simplify my life. So I only took the things that I absolutely needed. And I didn't need much stuff. There was even stuff that I didn't use for the first hike that I did. And it also helped me to become less sensitive. So I ate a lot less food. I didn't feel the cold as much, which I was really surprised about. And I just kind of powered on, even though there were many hard days that I experienced, but you really have no choice. You just have to keep going.
Far out, I'm so exhausted. We just climbed up this massive hill. You guys are ahead. I've got about half a kilometre to go, and just fucking can't wait to get there.
It's that play of the physical and mental game. So it's your mentality that helps you to overcome your physical barriers that you're experiencing. The social culture of hiking was also really interesting, I found. Because you're walking with people that ultimately have the same goal as you, which is to finish the hike, you end up relating to them, even though they're completely different people from a totally different part of the world potentially, and you may have nothing in common apart from the fact that you're doing this hike together. And you meet every night at the hut or the campsite, and then you end up having conversations, getting to know each other, and by the end of the hike, you've created this little hiking family that's just a special family for that particular period of time. And it's really a special thing. I did not expect that to happen. And, you know, I was walking with an 11-year-old girl that her aspiration is to go to Everest Base Camp. And then I was walking with a couple from England. And then I saw, you know, like senior people walking. So you meet all walks of life. It's really, really amazing. And the connection between resilience and reward, I found so relevant in experiencing multi-night hiking. Some days were long and tiring and boring and mundane and hot and cold and just all the things that aren't very great. That is the opposite of why we want to do hiking.
I'm getting tired. It's that 20k mark again. My feet are starting to hurt and I'm slowing down.
Even though you're feeling all of this, you have no choice. You have to finish it, because if you don't, then you will run out of food and you'll have to camp somewhere that you don't want to camp. So you actually have no choice but to get there. And it's interesting because it's a mental game. So the more that the more that I focused on, you know, the negative things and all the things that I was suffering, the worse it got. But if I just thought, okay, just deal with it, accept that it's there, and just keep going. Just put one foot in front of the other, just take a small step each time, and eventually you'll get there. And that was really relevant, especially for my hardest day, which was a 30-kilometer walk in like 30-something degrees.
High five.
You just had to keep going, and that was it. And then suddenly you find that you're there. And what's interesting about that is that in life, it's the same thing. You experience hardships, it's inevitable. But if you know where you're going, if you've got your goal, then just keep pushing through all those hard moments. Just take one step at a time, and then suddenly you'll look back and realize how far you've come, and that you're getting closer to your goal. What's most interesting, I find, is the experience that I'm having now after hiking. So I'm just at home now, and it's been a few months since I've come back. But what I'm noticing is that I'm starting to implement some different kinds of ways of living, and I definitely think that has been an attribute of hiking. So there's 3 words actually I've written down: simplicity, patience, and appreciation. Simplicity is both in a sense of the physical and the mental. I got so much out of spending so many hours hiking in nature that, I'm just appreciating that simpler version of my own life. So I'm slowing down. I have decluttered my apartment and gotten rid of all this crap that I've never used and don't need. I got rid of all my crappy clothes. That is probably why I get so uncomfortable in weather and hot and cold and hot and cold. Now I'm wearing my hiking clothes because it's super comfortable and cool in summer, and then my jackets are warm in winter, the proper goose down ones. And I've got no urge to buy stuff anymore, because I just think, am I going to put that thing in my backpack, and am I willing to carry that around? And is there any use for this thing? And if there isn't, then I think, well, I'm not going to get it. So I've got no urge for that. I don't need this. I don't need to fill this void, because I've just spent so many long hours walking through nature that I just appreciate really simple things in life. It's quite interesting. And I'm not really yearning to be entertained as much anymore. Again, for the same reason. I don't really watch TV, and I'm not really going to many events. I'm just kind of going out for a walk in the park and looking up at the trees and seeing the leaves rustling and seeing the little birds in their nests, and just really observing all the details all around me. Patience is the other one. So I take the time now to walk around everywhere, because that's what I was kind of used to for so many days and weeks at a time. And I sold my car before I went on this 3-month journey to hike. And I was going to buy a new one, but I decided not to buy one, because I feel like I want to walk everywhere. I've got a bike, I want to cycle, and I want to keep active. I'm so used to exercising and moving all the time. What's the point in getting a car if I'm just going to be sitting in the car? Then I'm going to be sitting on my couch, then I'm going to be sitting at my desk at work, when I could also simplify my life, if I'm patient, by doing less things. If I have a car, I'm rushing around and I'm stressed. So I'm just going to see how this works and see if it pans out. And the last thing is appreciation. I appreciate my life as it is right now instead of trying to yearn to have more and more and more and instant gratification. I realized as I was hiking, because I wasn't able to receive texts and be responsive and get emails and all that. So all this noise that I was used to receiving in my city life, I wasn't getting access to. So when I got all of that, when I came back to civilization, I didn't respond to 95% of it because it had already passed, it was done. And I'm so glad that that time was spent with me being in nature, walking, exploring, rather than responding to so many texts and voicemails and things that are kind of trivial anyway, to make sure that the value of my time is used in the best possible way. And I feel less guilty about missing out on events and things because I've just spent all this time alone and realized how much richness I can gain from just being alone in nature. Am I going to go back to hiking? Well, of course I'm going to go back to hiking. I feel like I've only just scratched the surface of this newfound skill that I've developed, and I feel like there's so much more to learn. There's so many more places to discover. There are so many more like-minded people to meet, and yeah, I want to be challenging myself, not only physically but mentally. So I feel like I've become trail fit, but I also want to become mentality fit and use hiking as a way to really keep developing that learning and self-reflection and to create a better life for myself by really connecting with myself by being in nature. So they're my learnings, and I hope you enjoyed them. And if you've got any questions about hiking, if you're getting started, feel free to get in touch and I'll see if I can help you out.